This is the most important and crucial period of your lives, for what you do now and what you decide now at this age may well determine which way your life shall go. And the question is whether you have a proper, a solid, and a sound blueprint. And I want to suggest some of the things that should be in your life's blueprint. Number one, in your life's blueprint should be a deep belief in your own dignity, your own worth, and your own somebodyness. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that you are nobody. Always feel that you count. Always feel that you have worth. And always feel that your life has ultimate significance. Secondly, in your life's blueprint, you must have, as a basic principle, the determination to achieve excellence in your various fields of endeavor. You're going to be deciding as the days and the years unfold what you will do in life, what your life's work will be. Once you discover what it will be, set out to do it, and to do it well. Be a bush if you can't be a tree. If you can't be a highway, just be a trail. If you can't be the sun, be a star. For it isn't by size that you win or you fail. Be the best of whatever you are.
I have a dream that my four little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
My Brother Martin. A sister remembers growing up with the Rev. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. by Christine King Ferris.
We were born in the same room, my brother Martin and I. I was an early baby, born sooner than expected. Mother dear and Daddy placed me in the chifforobe drawer that stood in the corner of their upstairs bedroom. I got a crib a few days afterward. A year and a half later, Martin spent his first night in that hand-me-down crib in the very same room. The house where we were born belonged to Mother Dear's parents, our grandparents, the Reverend and Mrs. A.D. Williams. We lived there with them and our Aunt Ida, our grandmother's sister.
And not long after my brother Martin, who we called ML, because he and Daddy had the same name, our baby brother was born. His name was Alfred Daniel, but we called him AD after our grandfather.
They called me Christine, and like three peas in one pod, we grew together. Our days and rooms were filled with adventure stories and tinker toys, with dolls and Monopoly and Chinese checkers.
And although Daddy, who was an important minister, and Mother Dear, who was known far and wide as a musician, often had work that took them away from home, our grandmother was always there to take care of us. I remember days sitting at her feet as she and Aunt Ida filled us with grand memories of their childhood and read to us about all the wonderful places in the world.
And of course, my brothers and I had each other. We three stuck together like the pages in a brand new book. And being normal young children, we were almost always up to something. Our best pranks involved a fur piece that belonged to our grandmother. It looked almost alive, with its tiny feet and little head and gleaming glass eyes. So every once in a while, in the waning light of an evening, we tied that fur piece to a stick, and hiding behind the hedge of the front of the house, we would dangle it in front of unsuspecting passersby. And boy, you could hear the screams of fright all across the neighborhood.
Then there was the time Mother Dear decided that her children should all learn to play piano. I didn't mind too much, but but ML and AD preferred being outside to being stuck inside with our piano teacher, Mr. Mann, who would rap your knuckles with a ruler just for playing the wrong notes.
Well, one morning, ML and AD decided to loosen the legs on the piano bench so we wouldn't have to practice. We didn't tell Mr. Mann, and when he sat, crash, down he went.
But mostly we were good, obedient children, and ML did learn to play a few songs on the piano. He even went off to sing with our mother a time or two. Given his love for singing and music, I'm sure he could have become as good a musician as our mother, had his life not called him down a different path. But that's just what his life did.
My brothers and I grew up a long time ago, back in a time when certain places in our country had unfair laws that said it was right to keep black people separate because our skin was darker. And our ancestors had been captured in far-off Africa and brought to America as slaves.
Atlanta, Georgia, the city in which we were growing up, had those laws. Because of those laws, my family rarely went to picture shows or visited Grant Park with its famous cyclorama. In fact, to this very day, I don't recall ever seeing my father on a streetcar because of those laws and the indignity that went with them. Daddy preferred keeping MLAD and me close to home, where we'd be protected. We lived in a neighborhood in Atlanta that's now called Sweet Auburn. It was named for Auburn Avenue, the street that ran in front of our house. On our side of the street stood two-story frame houses similar to the one we lived in. Across it crouched a line of one-story row houses and a store owned by a white family.
When we were young, all the children along Auburn Avenue played together, even the two boys whose parents owned the store. And since our house was a favorite gathering place, those boys played with us in our backyard.
And ran with ML and AD to the firehouse on the corner where they watched the engines and the firemen.
The thought of not playing with those kids because they were different, because they were white and we were black, never entered our minds.
Well, one day, ML and AD went to get their playmates from across the street, just as they had done 100 times before, but they came home alone. The boys had told my brothers that they couldn't play together anymore because AD and ML were Negroes.
And that it was. Shortly afterward, the family sold the store and moved away. We never saw or heard from them again.
Looking back, I realized that it was only a matter of time before the generations of cruelty and injustice that Daddy and Mother Dear and Mama and Aunt Ida had been shielding us from finally broke through. But back then, it was a crushing blow and seemed to come out of nowhere.
Why do white people treat colored people so mean? ML asked Mother Dear afterwards. And with me and ML and AD standing in front of her, trying our best to understand, Mother Dear gave the reason behind it all. Her words explained the streetcars our family avoided and the whites only sign that kept us off the elevator at City Hall. Her words told why there were parks and museums that black people could not visit, and why some restaurants refused to serve us, and why hotels wouldn't give us rooms, and why theaters would only allow us to watch their picture shows from the balcony. But her words also gave us hope.
She answered simply because they just don't understand that everyone is the same, but someday it will be better. And my brother ML looked up into our mother's face and said the words I remember to this day. He said, "Mother dear, one day I'm going to turn this world upside down."
In the coming years, there would be other reminders of the cruel system called segregation that sought to keep Black people down. But it was Daddy who showed ML and AD and I how to speak out against hatred and bigotry and stand up for what's right. Daddy was the minister at Ebenezer Baptist Church, and after losing our playmates, we heard our father speak from his pulpit. His words held new meaning.
And Daddy practiced what he preached. He always stood up for himself, confronted with hatred and bigotry, and each day he shared his encounters at the dinner table. When a shoe salesman told Daddy and ML that he'd only serve them in the back of the store because they were Black, Daddy took ML somewhere else to buy new shoes.
Another time, a police officer pulled Daddy over and called him boy. Daddy pointed to ML sitting next to him in the car and said, "This is a boy, I am a man, and until you call me one, I will not listen to you." These stories were as nourishing as the food that was set before us.
Years would pass and many new lessons will be learned. There would be numerous speeches and marches and prizes. But my brother never forgot the example of our father or the promise he made to our mother on the day his friends turned him away.
And when he was much older, my brother ML dreamed a dream.
That turned the world upside down.